To you all, I hope you're doing well. It's very chilly outside here. It's been a very frosty, bitter, cold weekend. So nice day to stay in and get making. Thank you for joining me here on Totally Beads. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a little bracelet. I'm going to call it the Jacqueline Pearl Bracelet. If I show you down on the mat, you'll see we've got 5 lovely colours to choose from. Each colour bracelet has 2 colours of the 4mm pearl in there, so you can make them as large as you like in terms of repeating that pattern and that length. We've got a lovely blue one, we've got a pretty pink one. They're on different coloured fastenings as well, so if you want the rose gold, they'll be on the pink, silver on the blue and white. We've got this pretty lilac coloured version as well. Really straightforward to make. I suppose it's a bit of a right angle weave, just bringing back through the pearls to make this lovely little kind of diamond pattern. Really like this colourway. This is kind of an ivory and a green, and we've got the browns as well. So they sit really nice and flat, sit very comfortably on your wrist. They're on the champagne findings. Now, in terms of your tools, I'm going to be using, in terms of materials, I'm going to be using a nylon thread, which is a 0.25, and that I like because it's strong and you can't see any of that thread path when we create it. You can of course use a beading thread of your choice with this. I think anything really would work, but you want it to be fairly soft. You could possibly do this with a very thin gauge of wire if you wanted to as well, but I think the nylon thread is a good one for me. You don't need to use a needle when you're using the nylon thread. When I've made all of these samples up, I haven't, but today I'm going to try it with 2 needles just to see if it speeds me up a little bit. So all I've done to my nylon is when I've taken it off my reel, I've given it a really good stretch out just to get the little kinks out of it. And then with a pair of my pliers, all I've done is I've just took some chain nose pliers and I've just crushed the end of it almost with my pliers just to flatten out the very tip, and then I can get that through the eye of my needle. I'm also going to be using a macrame board today. Again, it's not a necessity. I just find it's easier to lay it flat and pin it to the board. So I'll take you over to the website and I'll show you the lovely colours and the offers. They're a real bargain today, and we've got a multi-buy option for you as well. I'll say a very quick hello to everybody who's just come in. I've got the lovely Rachel who's in an overcast bar out. Yeah, it's overcast here today. It's just so I wouldn't even say it's icy. It's just bitter. It's really cold. Good morning to Camille. She says, good morning, Natalie, on this yet another rainy day. Thanks for the other night, lovely. Oh, that's no problem, Camille. Everybody just needs to keep their wits about them on social media, because there's lots of scammers going about and setting up fake profiles and things, Camille. It was lovely to have your face pop up in a message, unfortunately, and I could tell quite quickly in the response it wasn't you, but I hope you've managed to get it sorted. I really do. I know it's a right pain. Good morning to Elaine who's in. She's saying good morning to everybody. Anastasia's in as well and hoping everything's well with myself and my family. That's really kind of you. I hope you're okay, Anastasia, and hope your lot are doing well as well. Good morning to Mina. Hello to Debbie. Mina says she's loving all the colours. It's just nice to do a little bit of a mix, and I quite like having, if you're using the same colour, the same size pearl, to have a contrast in the colours. If you wanted to, you could do it all in one. You've probably got enough, I would say, to well, your kid's going to make one bracelet, but you're going to get 2 colours of the pearl. So if you wanted to, you could change about the order in which you place those colours. Good morning to Kath. Hello to Judith. Good morning to Carol. Good morning to Jackie. Hello to Teresa and anybody else who's just joining us. So I'm going to take you over to the website now. I have showed you how they look on the mat. I just think they look really pretty. I don't think my photographs are doing them justice. So I wanted you to see what they looked like and you have an idea, they've got a real lovely kind of fluidity and movement to them, but that thread's making it nice and strong. So if you head over to the website, if you want to buy your kits today, we're on totallyleads.co.uk as always. We are based in the UK, but we do ship worldwide. I always try and convert the measurements into whatever, whether it be centimeters to inches or whatever. But of course, if you need to change currency, you can do that on the website here. So totallyleads.co.uk. Let me just check that you can see that screen okay. It's taken a little while to catch up. So head into the video tutorial section, whichever way you'd like to get in, and you can see we've got absolute hundreds and hundreds of different projects using all sorts of different beautiful components. If you head here, it might be slightly different in terms of its position on your screen. Obviously, the more we add, the more they kind of disappear down the bottom, but these are called Jacqueline pearl bracelets. So if you're ever watching at a later date and you want to see what they wear, if you can't find them, you can always type in Jacqueline into the search and it will come up. So clicking on here, you'll see we've got those lovely colours for you. Each kit makes one bracelet. It's £3.50, or you can get 2 for £5. So you can get the same colours 2 for £5, or you could do a mix if you wanted to. You might think, actually, I really want those inner colours with those inner colours, and if you're buying 2 kits for £5, you can mix your pearls whichever way you want to. So we've got a blue and white, we've got a caramel and coffee. I drink that now. We've got an olive and an ivory, and we've got a rose pink and fuchsia, as well as the silver dust and the light purple, all for £3.50. So I'll quickly show you what you're getting inside of your kit. So it's going to make one bracelet. You're going to get your glass pearl beads, which are all these here. They're all 4mm in size. You've got your nylon thread, which is a 0.25mm. I'm going to use about 120, 150 centimeters. So quite a long length. It's probably about 50 inches I'm using. Probably won't use it all, but I've wanted to make sure that you've got plenty in your kit. So if you wanted to weave that all the way back through, you can do. Always use that little bit extra rather than trying to weave an extra bit in. So you get your nylon thread. Again, you can substitute that if you'd rather use kind of like a Eslon or whatever you prefer to use. I'm adding in some jump rings as well. They are outer diameter 6x1. I'm using 4. So instead of just having one at the end, I'm going to use 2, and that's going to make my clasp sit in the way I prefer, but that's up to you how you want to add them on. And of course, you're going to get your little lobster clasp as well, which is 12mm in size. If you're wondering what pearls we're using, I'm using the royal blue 4mm and the white in this colourway. If you ever want to add any extras in, you can of course just click and add those to your basket as well. So it's £3.50 for one bracelet kit, or you can get your 2 for £5. This is your caramel and coffee. In terms of your findings on this one, I'm using the champagne coloured jump ring and lobster clasp. Your nylon thread will be invisible again, so you won't see that running through the bracelet. And I'm using the caramel and the coffee in terms of the 4mm pearls, hence why it's called caramel and coffee. And I think they look quite nice together. I've tended to go for the lighter colour on the inside, little groups of 4, and then I'm using the darker to make those clusters at the edges. Again, you can swap that round if you prefer. So if you would rather have the kind of olive colour running through the centre and using the ivory on the outside, then you can completely do that. You can change it up as much as you want to. You could of course swap it, so you're having alternating colours. You can do whatever you want, but this I find is quite an easy method to create this lovely design. On this colourway, where I'm using the beautiful ivory and olive pearls, I've gone for the gold coloured findings. I think that looks very pretty and very spring-like. Possibly my favourite colourway today. I think I'm going to demo with the pinks though, this one, just because I think it will show a nice contrast down on my mat on the camera. So you can see here I'm using, that is not the right colour, I'm not using the turquoise at all. I'm using, it's like a light pink, like a baby pink with the fuchsia. Didn't check that. turquoise would look actually really lovely with that, but that's not the colour I've used. So I will double check what that is. I haven't got it written down to hand, but I'll find that out for you. So you can see I've got the lighter colour and the darker pink fuchsia on the outside. In fact, it might say, yeah, rose pink. Okay, so it's the rose pink coloured glass pearls. They are glass pearls, so they're nice and lightweight, really nice uniform in size, and of course, vegan friendly if that's how you like to make your stuff. Also means they're a little bit more, well, a lot more affordable than actual pearls, and you're not going to get the uniformity in a freshwater pearl or whatever. So we've got this beautiful one as well. I'm using the light purple with the silver dust, and it's kind of giving like a lilac kind of colour when you put those two together. And the findings on that one are silver on the fuchsia, and the rose, I'm using rose gold findings. So they're your lovely colours today, all £3.50 or 2 kits for £5. Head over to the website, and if you want to check them out, you can add them into your basket. Of course, you can have a little peruse of the website as well. If there's anything else there that takes your fancy, hopefully there will be. Let me bring myself back in, and let me bring the comments back up. I mean, this is meant to be an easier way of getting in and out the settings, and it's just not. I find I'm flicking between all of these buttons. Kath says, very pretty. Thank you very much. Hello to Carol. I don't know if I've said hello to you. Jackie's in. Teresa's in. Good morning to Joanne. She says, good morning, Natalie. Good morning. Oh, Natalie, are you using a needle? I am today. You don't have to. And when I've put all my bracelet samples together, I haven't. I've just used my fingers. So I might start with a needle and then think, giving up on that and go back to my fingers, but you can use a needle if you want to. Why not? Vegan friendly, says Camille. Yeah, well, pearls are from oysters, aren't they? Like little things. So these are glass pearls. So they're not. So yeah, they are. Right. Rach says, had a nice weekend as it was my birthday Saturday last year in my 50s. Happy birthday, Rachel. Did you do anything nice? What did you do? Did you get cake? I hope you had a lovely one. Happy birthday for anyone whose birthday it is. Right, okay, let me take you down on that. So I'm just going to use my macrame board just to pin it on. I'm not going to be using any of the grids or any of the slots or anything like that. Could actually flip it round to the other side. Might do that, and then it's not as distracting. But you can see bits of nail varnish and stuff stuck to the back of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 2 jump rings. Now the reason why I've took 2 jump rings is because I want my clasp to sit like this, to sit flat. And obviously if I'm popping it directly onto this one, it's going to sit in a different direction. So I want it to sit like that. If you don't want to, you can just add on the 1 jump ring. But you're getting 4 in your kit, so you can choose how you want it. So I'm just going to open up 1 jump ring, and I'm going to fully close another. And make sure it is fully closed, because we don't want that nylon to slip out of it. I'm then going to attach the closed one to the open, and then I'm going to get my lovely lobster clasp, which is a really nice size, favourite size lobster clasp to work with. They fit together really nice. And then just going to close that over too. And all I'm going to do is pin my lobster clasp to my board, and this just helps me work along. And I suppose if I do want to stop and have a little break, I can just pop my cords into the side. So I've just pinned that to the board. I'm then going to get my nylon thread. I've given it a good stretch out just to get rid of any of the kinks, because it comes very, very curly. You can put it in some warm water to just get rid of those kinks, but I just tend to find that giving it a good stretch out, giving it a good pull at either end will just get rid of those kinks. Now I have flattened the ends of it to get my needles in, but it's not a necessity to use the needle. You can just use the cord. And I'm just going to find the center by bringing my 2 needles together. Let's see how this works. So I should have one long length of my nylon. As I say, I'm using about 120, maybe 150 centimetres of the nylon 0.25, which is about 50 inches. I'm going to start with my lighter colour of my bead. I'm using the rose and the fuchsia for you today on the demo. So I'm just going to add on my beads, and they're all 4mm, but I'm going to use the lighter colour. And if I just show you this one, it's just going to run all the way through the middle. So my lighter colour's running through the middle. That's how I've decided to put this together. So I'm just going to pop on 2 pearls onto each of my needles, so onto each side. And I'm popping 2 onto each side just so I've got that jump ring sitting in the middle. So if I see, what I tend to do is I always end up wanting to hold the needle in my mouth, which isn't probably that hygienic or professional when I'm trying to talk at the same time. Ooh, Rachel went to a local Italian restaurant. Italian's my absolute favourite. So you can see I've popped 2 beads onto either side of that jump ring. That jump ring is going to sit in the middle, like so. I'm then going to take another one of the same colour and I'm going to slide it onto one side. And then I'm going to bring the other needle or the other side of my thread back through the same pearl but in the opposite direction. So this is kind of like your right angle weave where they're crossing over. So they go through the same pearl and the same drill hole, but they go in the opposite direction. So one's going through one side and one's going through the other. And as I draw them away from each other, I create that first little loop. And I'm going to start to make those loops all the way through, only I'll be adding 1 pearl onto each side from now on. That's just to get my clasp on. So then to get my little loops at the side, I'm going to go for the darker colour. So I've got the fuchsia in this kit and I'm going to add on 4 pearls to each side. So I'll just do one side for now. I'm going to push them right up to that first loop. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my thread back through that first pearl that I've put on. And again, as I slide it up, it can be a bit tricky at first because I'm using a very long thread. So just push it up into position. Slide that into place. And I'll have made that first little loop. It will sit flat as I go along. So you can pop that into the side of your board. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I'm going to take 4 of the darker colour pearls, in this case the fuchsia. And I'm going to slide them onto the other side, so the left side. So 4 onto there, bringing that up. And then I'm just going to go back through that first pearl. So it's coming back down in this direction. And that's going to create my next little loop, my next cluster of 4. And I'm just going to slide that back up. So it will start to form those little outside parts. Now to draw these together, I'm going to go back through the lighter colour, so the one that I started my loop with. And that's going to be the lighter colour of this rose. So again, I'm putting it onto one side, doesn't matter which side I'm putting it on. In this case, I'm popping it onto the left. And then I'm bringing the right tail end back through the same pearl in the opposite direction. And then I'll draw those away from each other. And that will close it up. So using the macrame board just helps me get it all into position, make sure it's all nice and flush. If I need to manipulate it, I can just do so with my fingers. And I can also, as I say, pop them into the sides if I want to while I'm sorting out the next lot. Good morning, Sheila. I hope you're well. So now I've got my first bead making the first little diamond section on the inside. I'm just going to add one pearl onto one side. So one pearl onto the right. One pearl onto the left, same colour. And then I'm bringing it back through again with the same colour. So I'm always going to go back through the lighter colour when I bring my threads through. And again, what I like about the nylon is it is quite forgiving. It doesn't get into a tangle like I would with a thread. And you can see I've just made that first diamond there. Again, if you need to tighten it up and manipulate it, you can do. And I've just created that first little cluster. And then I'm just back to adding on that darker colour onto the outside. So again, I'm going to pick up 4 of my fuchsia colour beads. And I tend to find it's easier to just do one side and then the other. So 4 on, pushing it right up towards that lighter colour pearl. And I'm just coming back down this first one here. So if you aren't using a needle, your thread will be stiff enough really that you can just bring it back through. And then as I pull it, I'm going to push that pearl so it sits next to the pink, the light pink rather. Slide it into place. And again, as I pull on this one, it will tighten it up. So then 4 pearls onto the next side. Should probably just take these off my strand. Morning, Lisa. Camille says, that looks nice for earrings. I have got a similar design, which I was planning on doing with this for earrings, but I think I'd probably want to use smaller pearls, unless you were to just do it as one. I've done one similar to that before, I think. Oh, wrong colour. So I'm just picking up the darker shade for the outside, putting 4 pearls on, and then bringing back through the first one. And then I want this pearl up close to that one, so I'm just going to slide it and then take the lighter colour onto one side and the other onto the other side. So same pearl, just going back through in the opposite direction. Using the needles also mean that I don't lose the ends of my thread, my invisible thread. And you'll see as I pull this up, it tightens that little weave and it will lay flat. And just move up a little bit in position. Good morning, Christine. Just sorry to be late. Horrible weather today. I hope you're okay. The weather's been really cold here. And we went for a walk in the park over the weekend, and it was just so cold when you weren't walking. But yeah, the kids still wanted an ice cream. So did my mother-in-law, to be fair, so I just wanted a coffee to warm up. So I'm just going to put 1 onto each side when I get back to the centre, and then 1 through the middle. So I'm using clusters of 4 to make the outer and the inner. I'm just going to run back, so taking that thread from the opposite side back through, and I've just knocked a full strand of pearls all over the floor. It got stuck to my jumper. It was a nice noise, wasn't it? You'll be finding them for weeks. Okay, so I'm just repeating that each time. Let me open another strand up. Otherwise we'll be here all day picking them up. Mina's asking what needle am I using. A Mayuki needle, Mina, and it is just says fine beading needle. I don't think it's got a number on it. One of these, which you can get off the website, and two of these. So it doesn't matter what size needle, because it will fit through the drill hole in the pearl. If you need to get your thread through, as I say, I've just crushed the end of it with my pliers, just to flatten out the end, and then I can pull that needle through. So it doesn't matter which side we're working on, as long as we're doing it to both sides. You can start on your left, you can start on your right. Camille, don't jinx me. She says we haven't had Monday Gremlins for a while. Well, tech-wise, so far so good. I think I'm streaming on all platforms. As for the beads on the floor, that's my error, isn't it? I'm just the gremlin. Rachel says, I've done that a few times. It's because I've got a jumper on and I don't know, just stuck to my arm. I do remember doing a TV demonstration once, and I had everything all out ready to go, and it was like my first proper live demo, never done it before. Off you go. It was just me and the producer, and it was Christmas themed, so I was wearing a Christmas jumper. And I got to the end and I was like, where's the spacer beads gone? I had them all in a little bag with my findings, where they all gone. And I noticed when I'd watched back that it had stuck to the sleeve of my jumper, and I'd managed to knock it onto the floor. And I was like, because I couldn't bend down and be out of shot. So I just had to improvise. I think I ended up making jump rings there and then. And so we'll go in for 4 darker colours on the outside. I'm going to push that up to the light pink pearl. You can slide the others out the way if you want to. I'm just coming back through the top of that first pearl. And then again, I'm just going to slide it back up to the top. And as I pull on that thread, it's going to form a little loop of 4. And then I want to bring those threads back together into the centre by using a lighter colour, which goes onto one side. And then these will kind of cross sides. And then back through the same pearl in the opposite direction. And as I pull, it's going to just pull them flat together. And the others will start to flatten down as you go. So we're just going to keep repeating that pattern really, really straightforward until we've got the length of what we were after. So then 1 onto one side. Morning, Anne, how are you doing? Joanne's asking how much nylon thread. I'm using loads. I'm using about 120 to 150 centimetres, was about 50 inches. I'm not going to need it all. I just like to be a little bit overzealous with it. So back to 2 light pearls, which will go and form the middle. And then 1 pearl to bring the threads back together. So going through one side and back through the other side. And then pull them away to create that diamond shape in the middle. Let me know if I've missed any questions or anything like that. I'll try and answer them as I go. Once you've started this, it does form, its length pretty quickly, unless you're doing a me and you're just dropping your beads all over the place. So 4 onto one side. This side I'm working on is the left. The right, sorry. And then I'm just bringing back through that first fuchsia coloured pearl. Not going through any of the others, just the first one. Pull that round, slide it into position, and then do the same on the opposite side, which is the left side. Adding 4 pearls on. And bringing back through the first. Bringing them together so they'll fit flat. Through the lighter colour. So going back through the same pearl in the opposite direction with each thread. And then they will pull together. What I do find as well is if they do turn up a little bit, when I've made it, I can just kind of bend it and it will sit in the opposite direction. It will just start to sit flatter. So don't worry if these kind of curl up a little bit as you first start. So back into the centre, so just using 1 bead on each side. And then back through 1 more. Draw your needles away from each other. There you go. And then back onto the outside. So I'm just going to bend that now so you can see what I mean. If I just give it a little tuck, it'll lie back flat. So I think the nylon's really nice for this project because you've got that fluidity in the movement through the bracelet. It's nice and soft, but it also has that strength, so I don't have to run back through that thread path over and over and over again. 4 beads onto one side, and then come back through the first. And then slide up. I've got myself in a little bit of a tangle, but again, using the nylon should just mean it just unravels quite easy for me. And then 4 onto the opposite side. Just going back through the first. And push that loop into position. And as I add on that lighter colour pearl, it'll tighten up that little section. Again, if it's sticking up a little bit, I can just reposition once I put the next lot on, and it will sit nice and flat. So in terms of how many sections I've done, it really does depend on your length. If I measure this one out for you, more pearls on the floor. I've none left. So here with my clasp, I've got about 7.5 inches, and I've used, not including the starting loops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 little inner sections there. So you can figure out how long you want it. If you want to make it longer, then you're just going to keep adding on more of that repetition. If you want to make it smaller, then you're just going to add less on. You can also add like a little extender chain onto these clasps as well. They're brilliant for that, because I'm just basically created a little chain using the jump rings. So you can add more chain on, or you can add more jump rings on, and you could make that kind of have an extender as well if you wanted to. So then your bracelet, if you're gifting it to someone and you're not too sure of the size that they prefer to wear, you've got that kind of adjustability to it that way. So adding on the lighter colour pearl to each side, and then back through. So I'm always going back through the same pearl, so it's always going to be the lighter coloured pearl if you want the light ones in the centre. Oh, I think I just going to have to do it one at a time, aren't I? Thought I'd be clever there. But I don't think I'm going to get both eyes the needle through at the same time. But essentially that's what I'm doing, just passing both threads through in opposite directions, and then it will draw through those there together. Again, afterwards I can just give it a little bend back if it needs to sit flatter, and it will kind of drop with the weight of it as well, so it will sit nice and flat. So I'll do a couple more of these, and then I will show you how to finish off. So we've got the same loop at the start as we do at the end. So I'm adding on 4 beads onto one side, and then I'm just going to go back through that first pearl here, just the one. It's got a little bit of paint on it, a little bit of the colour, so I'll flake that off as I go with my needle. So I'm just pushing that up, and the same on the other side. Coming back through that one, pushing up those loops, and then joining both of those colours with the lighter. Give that a little pull, and then I'm going to add one of the lighter onto one side, one of the lighter onto the other side. Really nice, repetitive little pattern, which is fairly quick to do. I want my threads coming out the opposite side. So it's coming out of one side of the bead hole and the other thread's coming out the other side of the bead hole. So they just cross in the middle to form that little diamond. I'll do one more and then we'll finish off. So 4 of the darker, onto one side, and bringing it back through the first one, but just the first one. So I'm coming down that way, and as I pull it, it will form that little loop. Just push it up with my finger to put it into place, and then the same on the other side. Add in 4 of the darker pearls, and coming back through the first one. So I'm just going to keep going with that until I've got the length that I'm after. And then when I come to finish off, Alison says, I love these clips. They're insanely and immediate addictive. Where's my bee box? I want a 10. Thank you, Natalie. You are very welcome. And Sheila says it looks very pretty. Thank you so much. You see, it can come together really, really quickly. Jackie says, thank you, Natalie. This one's got my name on it. Beautiful. Well, this is the Jacqueline pearl bracelet. And you've got lots of different colours on the website. You've also got an offer on if you want to buy 2 kits. I think it's just £5. So when I come in to finish off, what I'm going to do is I'm still going to draw it together like I did on the others. So I'm drawing it together with the lighter one. So I'm going to go through my rose coloured bead, and that's going to draw those last 2 together. Only this time I'm going to add on 2. So where I've been adding on in the middle, I've just been adding on 1 to each side. But when I first started, I added 2. So I'm going to add 2 beads on to each side. And then I'm going to have that matching. So 2 onto one side and 2 onto the other side. It's a really good beginner project, this as well. Gives a nice effect, but it is very straightforward. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my jump rings from before, only this time I don't need to add my lobster clasp on because my lobster clasp is already pinned to the top of my board there. So I'm just going to take my 2 jump rings and I'm going to close one fully and make sure it's fully closed. And then I'm going to open up another one and attach that through. And then make sure that is fully closed as well. So I just take it past the point where those 2 ends meet and then let that kind of spring back to the memory of that. It'll be all aligned. And then I'm just going to thread my jump rings on to one end of my thread. And then I'm going to do something really, really technical, and I'm going to tie a surgeon's knot. So I'm just going to tie both ends together. Still got the needles on, so we'll see how this goes. Might take my needles off. I'm just going to pass that through once. So just doing like an overhand knot. I don't know whether you'll be able to see with that being on the board. So I'm just going to do one knot, and then I'm going to do it again, only this time I'm going to bring it through the middle twice. And I'm going to push that right down, nice and firm. So I've now got those jump rings just in place there, and that surgeon's knot through the middle. Now I'm not going to put any glue on this, you can do if you want, but what I am going to do is I can take it off the board now, and I can just work my threads back through. So I'm going to work it back through and then just do a couple of half hitch knots. So take your thread and move it away from the knot, because when we do cut our thread off, we want to make sure that, you know, we're not cutting off too close to that knot. And this is just going to strengthen it up. If you want to, you can run that thread all the way back round just to tighten up again as well. But I tend to find just moving each thread away from the knot. And you can do a little half hitch knot. So to do that, I'm going to bring it through and just catch the thread. I'm not bringing it through any beads. I'm just catching the thread and where that little loop is. Just make sure you're just looping around that one pearl. Can just pull that back through, and then you can travel that down further. So this bit does help if you've got a needle on, because you can do it without, but I just find it's a lot easier to get back through your thread path. And I'm going to do the same on the other side of the thread as well. Oh, a bit of a tangle there. So I'm coming out that bead. Just going to go back because I've caught it. Going to go through the middle of that one. And you can run this nylon, with it being a 0.25, you can run that through the beads quite a few times. It stays okay within that drill hole. Just doing little half hitch knots and just move it away. Managed to catch that other loop. I should have probably cut that one off. It's not this difficult. Let me untangle my needles. Again, the absolute joy of having a nylon thread though is like it's really easy to just unpick. It's very forgiving. So you can see I've caught myself in a knot there with the two ends, and I can just untangle it. I'm going to cut that one off. So you can see where I've got that little knot. It's really easy to just unthread. So move it away from the knot where you've pulled it back through, and just do a couple of half hitch knots. So to do your half hitch knot again, I'm just going to catch the thread anywhere really within the bracelet. Get that one out of the way so we're not distracted. And as I'm just going to form that little loop, if you can see there, I'm just going to catch the loop Might be easier to show you this with a thread that's not invisible and you can see what I'm doing. And that will just tie off and add a little bit more security to the bracelet. And then all you need to do is just weave it back through, move it away from those knots, and then just cut off your tail ends, which I shall do. And although I've made quite a small bracelet, again, if I wanted to, I could add on an extender chain to that, and I could make little, sections of it, do all sorts with it. If it does start to flip up and it's not fully sitting flat, just give it a little bend in the opposite direction, and you can kind of manipulate that, and it will sit lovely. And then all you will need to do to close it is take your clasp and attach it through that last jump ring. So I'll show you back the colours that we've got. You can see here I've got this beautiful blue and white one here, which is the Jacqueline pearl bracelet in blue and white. And the colour of my beads here are the royal blue, so this gorgeous dark lovely royal blue, and then the white running through the centre, and they're on the silver findings. I have on the champagne findings the beautiful caramel and coffee coloured bracelet. As you can see, when it's on the wrist, it sits lovely. I've got the one that I've demoed here, which is the rose and the fuchsia in the Jacqueline bracelet. They are £3.50 per kit. I have this lovely one too, which is the silver dust and light purple. And lastly, my favourite I think today is the olive and the ivory. It's bringing me spring vibes. So you can see, just attaching that clasp, it will sit really lovely. You could make it as a beautiful collar as well if you wanted to have like a choker style necklace. I know some people were saying earrings. Mina says the last 5 beads look like flowers of these little ones at the end. Yeah, they do a little bit, don't they? Rachel says, beautiful colours. Thank you for the short tutorial. You are most welcome. Camille says, lovely bracelet. Thank you. Thank you very much. They do fit nicely inside of each other as well. So if you were wanting to layer them up, you absolutely could. Just made an extender chain on this one and made it a little bit smaller. But you're going to get enough in your kit to make one beautiful bracelet, and they're very comfortable to wear. So I do hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being with me today. There you go. Thank you for being with me. I'm going to be back with you on Wednesday. Ooh. So making necklaces with you on Wednesday, and they are very, very sparkly and a little bit different, a bit of a statement piece. So if you can come and join me then, I would love to see you. Jackie says, I usually only get Jacqueline when I've been naughty. Well, there's nothing naughty about these. Have a lovely day, everybody, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Take care. Bye.